So at any rate, they all approach Howard at different times. They've hired a private investigator to film as it's, because they've all worked this out. He's going to be at this place at this time. Love will go in and talk to him, and she'll be filming this on her camera, and to make it look like, eventually that he's talking to nobody. But what happens that is so amazing is that each one of the three members of the firm that are trying to bring Howard back all have their own issues, and all of their issues are addressed by love, death, and time as well. So the Kate Winslet character, who spent so much of her youth working for the firm in a very dedicated way, the time has gone by, so she feels that she cannot have a child now because she's too old. She lost that time. So she's challenged by time. Raffi, he gives her this whole scenario about how Einstein said time is just an illusion, and he notices that she's got a brochure about looking for a sperm donor, and he goes, time's not your problem. I don't know what and she's like, don't even talk to me about that. And Death, Helen Mirren talks with Simon Pena, who is dying of multiple myeloma, which has now come for the third time out of remission. And Death looks at him and says, she sees he's not well. She looks right at him and says, have you told your family? No. Why not? Well, why should I? All the pain that they would experience and all that goes along with it. And she says, you are depriving them of the opportunity to share that with you and to say goodbye. She goes right to the core of it. And then Love, who is her connection is with the Ed Norton character, Whit. And he is, he's divorced because he had an affair. And he has a daughter who's a preteen who won't talk to him. She hates him. She says, you're a philanthropist. She says, I think you mean philanderer. Well, you would know. She's just at that preteen stage. And she says, I hate you because of what you did. And so he feels completely defeated. And of course, Love challenges him. And she says, and he's attracted to her. And she's like, would you get off that? And she asks him, what was it like when your baby was born? He said, well, what do you mean? And she says, yeah, what did you feel when your baby was born? And he says, well, I felt fear. And then they put her into my arms, and then I realized I didn't feel love. I was love. And this just totally opened him up. And she says, all right, I'm not going to play along with this whole thing anymore unless you approach your daughter and you bring her back to you. And so that also takes place. So in each case, those who are trying to help Howard are themselves being helped by being challenged by the very people, the actors that they have hired who are challenging them. And then this is where the word collateral beauty comes in. In one of the opening scenes, it shows a young woman sitting in the waiting room because her daughter is being prepared for her to say goodbye. And there's a woman who's all covered up, you can't see her, who's sitting right next to her and who kind of says to her, so who are you losing? And she says, my daughter. And this person says, just don't forget to notice the collateral beauty. Then toward the very end of the film, when Howard is finally able to go into this bereavement group or grief counseling group that he's been peeking through the window at, and he's able to now begin to open up and tell his story. And he and his wife had divorced as a result of this death. And I guess I'll keep on going because this is the spoiler alert part. Are you okay with this?
I'm okay. I saw it, so yeah.
Are you okay, Lynn, Christina?
Oh, yeah, oh yeah. I
Okay.
think I remember seeing this now that you've, yeah.
Now that I'm telling it, well, I want you all to see it again. It's really worth seeing. But so I'm not telling it in linear form here, but at any rate, it turns out that the woman who's running the bereavement group and who speaks with him as if she's never met him before, because she sees he's so closed off, he will not even say, you know, what was your daughter's name? He just leaves. And it turns out finally, after all the breakthroughs with love, death, and time coming after him and really making him upset, you know, go away, and they won't go away. Love will, you know, she feels like, oh, I'm failed. I didn't get through to him. They go back and do it again. And she says to him, love is in you. It's in you. It's in you through the pain too, not just the sexy part. Love is in you and it's with you and it's part of you through all parts of your life. So it is said much better in the film, of course. So at the very end, it turns out that the person who was sitting next to her in the hospital was the Helen Mirren character who plays Death, Brigitte. And she was the one who said, who are you losing? And don't forget to notice the collateral beauty. And what turns out that Madeline, who is the bereavement counselor, is actually Howard's ex-wife. And she's able to finally get him to open up and say their daughter's name. And she says to him, tells him the story about the woman who says, don't forget to notice the collateral beauty. And she says, I found myself about 2 years after our child died that I started bursting into tears in the subway and just anywhere. And she said, it wasn't because they weren't sad tears. They were because I suddenly had an experience of being connected to everything. And that's what brought her to tears. And then she said, and then I understood what she meant when she said collateral beauty. So, you know, telling a plot is not the same as seeing and experiencing this story. But what I got out of it was in this concept of blessing, that the initial intention was to save the firm. And the outcome was that everybody was changed by it. And even though the initial intention was to go from here to there and change that person, it came back around the other way and changed those who were doing that. And I thought to myself, that must have something to do with what blessing means. It's not something that only goes in one direction. And the intention that we have, even if it's not always the best to begin with, can turn into something that's really amazing. And then it comes back to us and changes us. So there it is. Don't forget the collateral beauty. Don't forget to notice the collateral beauty.